Going into the second day of Michael Cohen's testimony, he has already dropped a number of bombshells that at the exact same time, importantly, confirm the crucial motivation for why the fundamental charge of business fraud was put on to Donald Trump. The motivation that he had for covering up the actual hush money payments. And at the same time, the bombshells also make Trump look terrible. And so for both of those reasons, I love them and I want to cruise into the most important ones. But we're going to start with the latter category. So Cohen said Trump told him, when the Stormy Daniels story was apparently being shopped around and they weren't sure if they would be able to get a hold on it. You know that when this comes out, meaning the announcement, just be prepared. There's gonna be a lot of women coming forward. So that's that he's going to be running for president. And look, Donald Trump does not always have the best read on what's gonna happen politically, but he wasn't wrong. They did come out. At least 26 women have over time accused Trump of touching them inappropriately, with some accounts dating back decades. And it is one thing to acknowledge the 26 women. It's another to think there's no real reason to assume that's all of them. Both because many will have seen what happened to the women who came forward. Terrible experience for the vast majority of them. Very few taken seriously or given a chance to have their story actually be heard. So a lot of women theoretically could see that and then think it's not worth it. And then for others, we already know that he does hush money payments. Now there's been a few that have been revealed or broken. Are we assuming 100% of them have been? But anyway, let's focus on what we do now. No, as of right now. And more important than just the fact that they exist is obviously what has landed him in this case that we're in right now. So Michael Cohen says that Trump explicitly told him they needed to do whatever they could to suppress Stormy Daniels' story specifically until at least after the election, because crucially, it wouldn't matter at that point. And that is really crucial because the ability for these business fraud charges to be felonies as opposed to misdemeanors relies on the fact that it's being linked to fraud to cover up another crime. In this particular case, that crime being a sort of campaign finance violation, that this was money that was spent not for personal things, like because you wanted your wife to not find out about this, but to influence the result of an election. Now, that crime is necessary for the felonies to stick, but that crime itself is not being adjudicated in this case. So it is an interesting situation we're in, but this really does get to the motivation.
Hey, I'm glad you're here. Listen, in order for the damage report to keep on going, we need viewers like you to become a member on YouTube. Can you click the join button on YouTube today? Thank you.
And I want to give you a little bit more about that. Cohen testified that Trump acknowledged his polling with women was poor and understood the damage that Daniels' story could do to his candidacy. A key detail for prosecutors, as I'm alleging, were aiming to show that he wanted to suppress Daniels' story for his own campaign. And then I'll add one little more disgusting fact. He said, this was a disaster, a total disaster. Women are going to hate me. Guys, they'll think it was cool, which is gross. And also probably true. I think the vast majority of his male fans, and also, by the way, a large number of the female fans either have weirdly no problem with all of this or do in fact think it's cool, in the same way that many of them, including a number of MAGA women, think the grab them by the P word was cool. They literally wear the shirts. So it's gross, Viviana, but it's not necessarily inaccurate. What do you make of it?
Well, we can't like take the account of a few women who think grabbing by the P word is cool or have the hots for Donald Trump is a real indication of what the majority of people feel in their moral compass. We have women who go after serial killers and rapists and write them love letters in prison. So are we to say that women don't care? No, there are some women out there that I don't know what their issues are, but for whatever reason, they like this perverse, disgusting abuse. I mean, there are people that have their own sexual proclivities and maybe they like people that grab them by the P word. I don't know. But I'm not gonna base the vast majority of rational people, men and women, throughout this country and the world on 2 or 3 or 26 or whatever numbers we're gonna come up with that thought Donald Trump was attractive and liked his behavior. And I totally agree with you, John. Like when you have these women then becoming the target of a smear campaign just because they're coming forward with their truth. And that goes across the board. We've seen it in the Me Too movement. I mean, we see it with Weinstein being released now. It's almost like a moot point. Like you put yourself in the most vulnerable moments And women are always attacked, always, even if they're raped. So if you're in any way consensual, then you're really a target. So it's a very, very tough situation. But it's also kind of incriminating himself by saying these things. So it's a really kind of fun thing to watch, because you see the defense really trying to disconnect the dots, but the dots and the breadcrumbs are very clearly showing us exactly what happened, because none of us believe that Michael Cohen was working in a vacuum. Why would he do that? That makes no sense at all. We know 100%. That he was one of the women who loved Donald Trump. I mean, he's not a woman, but you know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of those people who are obsessed with this man and wanted him to be his friend. He talked about it so with like endearment in his eyes. Yeah. So 100%. We know that he would have done anything to help this man. And he did not work on his own. The guy doesn't even have the power. I mean, he looks like a weasel. He's a weaselly guy. And he's just been trying to be on the come up for years. He got his feelings hurt that he wasn't on the cabinet. Boo-hoo. This is who Donald Trump is. He's not a loyal guy. He's not loyal to even his wife. His wife knows that. He wasn't worried that Melania was going to find out, because Melania knows. She knows what's going on. We know that's why she doesn't like him.
I'm glad that you bring that up, because we're going to turn to that in just one sec. But look, a lot of this will come down to how credible does the jury think that Michael Cohen is. And by the way, when I say that, I mean a lot of how they'll interpret these statements will come down to that. I want to be very clear to people who are not following the case like super in depth. The case that the prosecution is making does not fundamentally rely on what Michael Cohen is saying. You do not have to trust Michael Cohen to believe that this is what happened. They have so much documentary evidence, 100%.
Trump signed the
also, they have Michael Cohen's statements. So just bear that in mind. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.